It is rebuttal time. The Young Turks released this video recently. They released a video based on this study from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology to pivot to guess. Racism, of course.
Racism.
So they use this to set it up and pivot to white people are horrible racists who should feel incredibly guilty. Sometimes that's true.
Yeah, we are.
Like for Jared, let's go to the clip 1 to see how they set it up.
So researchers asked nearly 1,000 online participants to judge the height, weight, muscularity, and strength of both black and white men based only on photos of their faces. All participants in the survey, both white and black, consistently overestimated the measurements for black faces relative to white faces, even though the men pictured were all of similar size.
Okay, so I know Gerald's confused. It's important to remember this because this is the factual basis, right? This is where it starts. Okay, study. Everyone thought that the black people were larger, including black people themselves. Okay, let's start with that. Let's go clip 2.
In another experiment, participants were shown the exact same racially ambiguous body. When the person was labeled as black, participants thought he was taller and heavier than those who were told he was white.
Okay, now here's where it starts to go off the rails. First, I'm not entirely sure the purpose to this study. We'll have the link in the description. It seems a little bit loaded, but let's go with this for a second. The reason that everyone, including black participants, saw black people as larger, whether it was because they were labeled black or because they saw people who were black, is probably the same reason that people who make their livings by looking big all paint themselves to look black. Spot the white guy. Hint, it's half. This is well known in the fitness industry. That's why they slap on this tent. It is well known that the darker you are, the more tan you are. Some would say the closer you can get to black, the larger or more defined you will look. That's an optical illusion. Kind of like black clothes are slimming, darker skin tones tend to make you look more angular, more defined, and that creates an optical illusion that you're larger. Now, is that racist? I guess by definition, whenever you separate things by race and say black people look bigger than white people, or that's the perception, by definition, it's racist. But does it mean that it's hateful or bigoted in a negative way? No, but not to be stopped there. They go on to imply that you are.
But a difference emerged when the researchers asked participants whether the person appeared threatening and if police force would hypothetically be justified if that person were a suspect. Only the white participants felt the perceived greater size of the black faces made them greater threats and more potentially deserving of force. So while black individuals in the survey also overestimated the size, they did not then think, as a result of that, police are justified in using force, potentially even lethal force.
Okay, so do we see what happened here?
Yes. Just that last little bit. Lethal force.
Lethal force. Just throw it back in there. It starts
them
off with they perceived black people to be bigger. Okay, including black participants. Okay. Then it goes to, so that's a fact. That's a physiological issue. Then it goes to, with that perception, white people tend to maybe have the opinion that said black person might be more likely to commit crime. So we say one thing that's true. Everyone saw the black person as bigger, black people are perceived to be larger, and then say, therefore, racism when white people perceive there to be a greater threat of crime. Okay, I know people aren't going to like this, but why would it be that maybe the white people could perceive it as a greater threat of crime? Could it be because black people who make up only about 13-14% of the population commit 30 to 50% of the crime?
Oh.
Now, does it mean that all black people are criminals? No. Does it mean that it's okay to stereotype black people as criminals? No. But like Jared said, you talk about this all the time. You can't throw out the statistic.
The first thing to throw is, if 1 in 4 black men are go to prison, 25, blah blah blah. It's like, you just told me all these stats about black people. Of course I'm scared.
I'm a skinny white dude. What am I gonna do? I will not fare well in Harlem. So okay.
Black folks think bigger, but they don't think danger, because why? Among the reasons why is because they live with other black people and they know day to day, there isn't like, oh my God, we're in constant danger. What if my aunt attacks me? Right? Their interaction is smaller. They have a black friend at work, but they don't live maybe in a city or a portion of a city with a lot of African Americans. So to them, it seems foreign and an outsider or another is always perceived danger.
Right.
First off, before you send your messages, that was actually Cenk. It was not a Cenk.
That was not.
You think all black people are dangerous? Okay, right.
Right. With the panel with no black people
again,
on it.
what they say is, white people perceive there to be a greater threat, and they move to a conclusion based on what? Attributing some kind of a motive or a reason that they couldn't possibly know. It's because they're for it, because things are anything that's different to you is something you're going to be scared of. Well, actually, the Bureau of Justice puts the crime even higher, with 34 to 52% of crimes in the United States being committed by black Americans. Not to mention when you get into the idea of altercations with police officers, because they're talking about police officers using lethal force, where they're more likely to reach for a cop's gun, or they're more likely to assault a police officer. So these are statistical facts that may come into play when these people are asked their opinion or perceptions, and then the Young Turks berate them for simply being racist or it being something that's foreign to them. Well, no, that's not necessarily the case. And there can be discussion to be had as far as why is the crime statistic higher in black communities? Why are black people far more likely to have a crime committed against them by black people than by white people? Is it sociological? Is it economic? What's the reason for it? Is it the history in the United States of America? There are a lot of arguments to be made. And I think the discussion is one that people can have. I think some of the arguments are silly, as presented by the Young Turks, but that's not what they're doing here. They just say, therefore, white people are racist because they're not familiar enough with black people and attribute an end game.
And by the way, another study shows that young black kids are considered by people who are seeing them as about 3 to 4 years older than the same age white kids.
Kids who are less than 10 years old in a lot of cases.
That's
huge
right.
Shift.
So blacks are perceived as bigger, stronger, older, and by white people as more dangerous.
Maybe they're perceived as older because there is a scientific study that was conducted that shows that black males literally enter puberty a year younger than white males. Now, I get that statistic means that people are different. This is nothing that we don't know. Black people and white people are different. Mm-hmm. It doesn't inherently mean that one is better or one is racist for recognizing the differences. It might not seem a lot that they enter puberty 1 year younger, but think about when you were 10 or 11 or 12 or 15 to 16, right? Those kids who were a grade older than you, they were terrifying. 1 year makes such a huge difference at that point.
Absolutely.
Whether you're an adult, even looking down at those kids, they grow up so fast, don't they? Or a kid. It is the magnitude of that difference of 1 year at that phase in your life is statistically significant. Now, I'm not even going as far as saying that's why young black males are perceived to be older. I'm just saying this could be one of, it doesn't necessarily mean that you asked a whole bunch of white people who, because they hate black people, perceive them to be older than they are. I mean, there could be one of several reasons. Mm-hmm. This is what they do. They take something that's a statistical fact that delineates people of different races. I don't think we need to be colorblind. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Therefore, and then make a false equivalency. It's like, okay, listen, nobody would really argue if you were to say, hey, for some reason, it seems like black people historically have been able to achieve greater, highest velocities than white people. The fastest people in history tend to be black people. You look at the records, you'd go 1 through 50 and say, nary a white person in sight. That seems about right. So, okay, we can agree. It seems for whatever reason that black people tend to historically have been faster than white people. Right. Therefore, you're a white supremacist. No. No, that's not true. For example, no one would probably contend if you just say, on average, black people tend to be taller than their Asian counterparts. I think we could probably all agree with that. Yeah, there's a physiological difference there. Okay. Therefore, you're a Nazi. This isn't how it works.
Wait.
And it's important. The reason I wanted to point, it's important to see the bait and switch, because you can start something off with a published study or a published trial, and you can make it sound scientific enough, or you can make it sound logical enough, but you're really just, a lot of the time you'll see this, and you see this not only obviously at Young Turks, but at CNN, at a lot of any main news outlets. They'll use something entirely legitimate as a springboard into opinion, and they don't delineate.
Sure.
And that's the danger. Hey, if you like this video, you're probably thinking of subscribing. Of course you're thinking of subscribing, right? Okay, this is the subscribe button. Okay? Okay.